You know, most race shops in America today have one of these things, but I'm here to show you why this thing is now obsolete. I'm Rob Fisher with Circle Track. We're part of Source Interlink Media, one of the nation's largest automotive media companies. And we're here in our Tampa facility getting ready to install a shop crane, which is this cool new product that we found at SEMA. Right now I'd like to bring in Tim from Shop Crane.
Hey Rob.
Tim, how are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet, it's my pleasure. Tell us a little bit about the system that we've got here today.
Okay, this is our half-ton system. It's a two-bridge system, so what we're going to be doing today, we're going to install around a two-post lift, which is a very common application for a shop crane. We're going to stagger it, so we'll have one bridge on the far side of the lift, that'd be for pulling your engines, on the back side for pulling boxes off trucks, and to use two of those bridges possibly for pulling bodies off frames.
So this system is fairly easy to install, even that the do-it-yourselfer or the shop owner could do it themselves.
Absolutely. You're going to have, you know, if you have a couple of ladders, some hand tools, most of the parts are easy enough for anybody to just pick right up and walk up a ladder. It takes about 3.5 hours depending on how many people are involved.
Yeah, it's like half an afternoon there.
Absolutely.
So now ours is a 12-foot high system so that it can fit over the two-post lift that we have. Now not a lot of race shops in this country have two-post lifts. Sure. Can you get them in shorter, lower?
Yeah, we make them to custom dimensions. Okay. We have catalog dimensions of 8, 10, and 12 foot tall, 8, 10, and 12 foot wide. But we actually do any dimension you need. If you need it right to 9 foot 2 inches, we'll build it to 9 foot 2 inches.
Okay. Yep. Good deal. Well, let's get started here. And what's the first thing we're going to need to do?
We're going to need to place a column. We'll need to figure out the first place to put one. So I'm suggesting against this wall over here, that's kind of our fixed space. Okay. We'll start there, get one column placed, and we'll start measuring off that column where the others will lie.
Sounds simple enough.
Great.
Let's get going. We're going to drill a 3/4 inch, 4 inch deep hole into the floor.
So now we've got all 4 of our columns placed. We've drilled all 16 of our holes. We've got the columns kind of locked down finger tight. So now that we've done that, the guys are actually, you can see them going up on the ladder. They're going to be placing the runways. The runways run the length of the system, and that's actually what the bridge traverses up and down. Pull the column to you, Rob. Yep. David, you in? Yes. Okay. So the guys actually now are just bolting the runways to the columns. So each connection has 4 holes, and there's a little notch where you have to get the columns facing each other, and that's where the runway truss comes into. What we're going to do is, after the guys get the runways up, we'll put both runways on each side. Then we'll begin to shim the columns. It's a little bit easier once you get the runways on to shim the columns. We can do it ahead of time, and we can try to shim them ahead of time. However, once the runways are on there, it's sort of the last step where we can just throw the bridge on and the installation's done.
Tim, they should go finger tight, right?
Yep. Yeah, just finger tight for now until we start to lock down the columns. So what Rob's doing now is David put on one end and Rob's putting on the other our end truck. The end truck is actually the piece that holds the bridge. It's got 4 vertical wheels and 2 horizontal wheels to help keep it centered and roll back and forth.
And it just slides right into the runway here, as you see. And then there's a stopper bolt that goes on the end of it here. So behind me in the background, you can see David tightening down the lag bolts that are in the concrete anchors. It's holding the whole system together. One thing that we'll be sure to do in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road after we've used the crane for a little bit is to retighten and check all the bolts. It's just like nutting down your race car. You want to make sure you check those bolts and those nuts and make sure everything's tight just for safety's sake.
So this is our half-ton hoist that we supply with the system. We don't always supply it. People can supply their own hoist. You don't necessarily have to buy this from us. If you have something you can use. But this is our flat plate trolley that actually bolts right up to it. Comes with its hardware. This trolley actually runs inside the bridge and takes the hoist so it can traverse back and forth. So wheeled trolley, 4 wheels, 4 steel wheels, and it bolts right up to this hoist. So you're able to actually go back and forth. The bridge will obviously go back and forth down the runways to give you full coverage underneath the crane.
Well, Tim, we've almost got our shop crane completely installed, but there's one last thing we need to do, and that's get that bridge into position. Tell us a little bit more about how that's going to work.
Sure, absolutely. No, thanks for asking. Basically, the bridge is the mobile piece. So it's the piece that traverses back and forth. Right. It's got the trolley on it that holds the hoist to go up and down. So we have these 2 plates. As you can see, the plates, the only difference between these 2, they're tapped and threaded plates, is this one has a piece that actually gaps the track so it doesn't actually clamp. It holds the bridge, but it doesn't clamp it down. On the other side, it clamps down. Just in case we have any misalignment in the runways, that gives you the ability to have the end truck float in and out a little bit as the bridge goes up and down the runway. So it's kind of the biggest step. It's the heaviest part. One of the most difficult steps, but it's the end of the build. So it feels a little rewarding when it's done.
Plus, we've got the luxury of having a forklift here that we understand that not everybody does. Our setup, we've already put the bridge and all
we put the trolley and hoist on ahead of time. So
because we have the forklift.
Yeah, because we have the forklift and we can have that extra weight. The bridges are going to be in a 12-footer. It's going to be about 130 pounds. So it's manageable for 2 people to put one up by themselves on ladders. Right. Not everybody's going to want to do that. But once you put the hoist on, you've added another 40 pounds or so to it. So we got the tow motor, we're going to do that. If you don't have a tow motor, that's okay. A few ladders, just put the hoist and trolley on afterwards.
Perfect. Let's get to it.
Great. So Rob, this is our last step that we're going to go through with the shop crane. So it's an option. It's not necessarily something that everyone orders, but when you have the electric hoist, you have to have a way to keep the cable up off the ground so you're not dragging it around on the floor.
Makes sense.
This is what's called our tagline tight wire system. Basically replaces 2 of the bolts up top. The inside bolts on either end of the runway, on one side of the runway. We're going to pull those off, give you a little bit longer bolt. We'll put this tagline up. You actually tension it with this. Yep, and you'll tension it with this turnbuckle. Pull it up out of the way, and we'll use some S hooks to keep the wire up and clamp the wire up there, and should be good to go. That's kind of your final step once everything's tightened up and ready to go.
So give everybody an idea of what a typical price range for something like this would be, and where they can find out more information about it.
Absolutely. Well, they can visit our website at www.shopcrane.com.
Okay.
So Shop Crane's going to get, that website's going to give you just about everything. You can follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter as well at Shop Crane. As far as pricing goes, our smallest system's 8x8 system that's roughly 15 foot long, 8 foot tall, 8 foot wide, is around $2,800, $2,799. This system with just one bridge is $29.99, so $3,000. So very affordable piece of equipment.
Very affordable,
absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
When you add a second bridge, obviously there's additional cost. When you add hoist, we have nationwide flat rate freight as well. So for $250 to your door, you can get the freight, and we typically will do, when we go to SEMA or PRI, any of the big shows, we'll do like a free freight program for a week or so afterwards, or a free hoist or something like that as a promotion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sure.
That's awesome. Now, you said that you could unload a lot of things out of pickup trucks with this system, but one of the other things you can do is also load stuff into that pickup system. So as you can see, the shop crane is particularly this dual bridge system really obsoletes the old engine hoist. So the only thing that we could think of to do with our old engine hoist is raise it up with the crane then drop it into the back of a pickup truck and take it to the scrap heap. Okay, we're back the following day after installing our shop crane in the Tampa location for Source Interlink Media. Today, now comes the fun part. We get to use this thing. Daryl and I are going to take the engine and the transmission out of this street legal NASCAR Camping World truck, which some of you may have recognized as the truck that drove on this past year's Hot Rod Power Tour. So let's get to it. Come on, Daryl. One of the really cool things about this shop crane is it enables us to lift the engine and transmission out of the car all in one shot. It's got that much capacity, 1,100 pounds on this winch alone. So in less than half an hour, we pulled the engine and transmission out of our race truck, separated the two. We've got the transmission on a stand behind me. We've got an engine on a stand right here in front of me, all thanks to the shop crane. It makes it better, safer, easier, and quicker. Because if we tried to do this with a cherry picker, we would probably still be working on it an hour later. So for more information, you can check out shopcrane.com or pick up your latest copy of Circle Track magazine at newsstands everywhere.